So, with the chanting salutation to the Triple Gem. Yoso Bhagava Araham Svakato Yena Bhagavata Dhamma Supatipananoya Sambhagavato Savaka Sangho Amayang Bhagavantang Sadhammang Sasanghang Hime Sakare Yataraham Vedehi Vipujaya Satuno Bhande Kankawa Sujira Parini Bhuttopi Bhajima Janatanugang Bhavanasa Ime Sakare Dukadapanangara Bhute Patigar Amhangam Harada Hidaya Sukhaya Amham Sampura Bhagawa Gundam Bhagavanta Hapiva Svakato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammang Namasam Supatipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Sangham Namah Namayam Buddhasa Bhagavato Upapaka Namakarang Namam Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. So let's begin with some silent direct practice. Bring yourself into the here and now. What does this mean? You know, we talk about present moment, but it's a curious phrase because how long is a moment? And we really mean bringing ourselves into presence. You know, because moments are not second, half a second, 1 minute, 10 minutes, a gigasecond, nanosecond. You know, there's no beginning and end to the present. It's not something you can't measure it in time. It's about presence. Here now means presence, doesn't it? rather than possible, should be, ought to be, will never be, always was. These are not presence, these are perceptions and abstractions. So coming into presence means coming to direct, immanent experiences touching you. And then the question is, since we have many sense bases through which we can be touched, if you like, select what would you like to tune into. You have the possibilities. The chitta, the heart, is not a sense organ. It's not a sense organ. It doesn't receive sense contact. It receives impressions of sense contact that are delivered by the mind, by mind consciousness, manovinyana. It delivers these, so we focus our attention. Is the fundamental organ, if you like, of the mind consciousness. It attends the things. Whatever it attends to, that impression goes to the heart. And we can attend to visual things, tactile things, olfactory, and of course, plenty of conceptual things. And a lot of those conceptual things are should be, could be, wish I was, why am I not? Abstractions. So attend to something directly accessible by the mind. We say, well, there's a body here. It's present. Qualities of it are changing, of course, but that's definitely a present reference. And what makes it present is you can feel it. Presence is about feeling something. You definitely feel affected. What is it that feels affected? And we call that chitta, that which it feels affected by feeling. So that takes us to the very crucial hub of our life, chitta, that which is affected by feeling and brings up responses, aims, fears, joys. These are all chitta experiences. Determination, it's a chitta experience, sense of yes. So we come into this through the body, felt, not conceived of. Into chitta, into the heart. Felt body has a certain stabilizing effect. And we might also recognize we have a particular aim for doing this. It's not a casual thing. It's something we definitely have a sense of purpose and clarity. Stability. I want goodness. warm-heartedness, love. I don't want bitterness, guilt, depression. Don't want that. Now, that may happen, but that's not my aim. So this is aim towards the beautiful, the good, Kalyana. Buddha used this term to express his Dhamma. He says Dhamma is Kalyana in the beginning, Kalyana in the middle, Kalyana in the end. It's uplifting, it's beautiful, it's admirable. And ask yourself, what does your heart find Kalyana now? Where is the sense of the admirable, the uplifting now? Is it a wish for peace, forgiveness? I don't know. It's your heart. There's no technique in this. It's just being accurate and realistic. What do you seek in your life? And go down the list and you get really the most important things. The most important things. If other things we can't have to go, what is the most important thing for you now? And bring up that quality. It will be a heart quality. And keep returning to that. And noticing any effect in terms of your general bodily experience, whether you feel more agitated or composed, more settled, more present, or more distracted. Hopefully you feel more present and comfortable in yourself. We're recognizing, affirming your true value now. And as that becomes felt, sensed, notice how your breathing feels. Whatever it feels, it's just a sense of connecting the energy, the rhythm, the flow of breathing to your heart's deepest wish. And stay with that. Discarding, reviewing, clearing what's not needed. Mind will wander, of course, but if we use the body to return, because the body is always present, and noticing if you've managed to tune in to the true value, there'll be a kind of a slight tingling effect, a warming effect in terms of bodily energy. I don't mean physical energy, I mean like a certain vitality. You come alive, a little more fully alive in your meaning than when you're just distracted or daydreaming or speculating. It's something very alive when you breathe, feel your true meaning. You can even use that as you pick that up. You can, if you cultivate it, staying with this experience, certain right resonance, direct it to your body. For example, you've got, I don't know, sore eyes or stiff shoulders, just bringing those parts of your body into mind and breathing out through any areas that seem to be depleted or stressed, using the heart to heal the body. Noticing any effects, changes. And of course, you can direct it also to sore aspects of your heart, the sadness or the people who are suffering that you're connected to, sort of blessing, a sort of prayer, if you like. Bring to mind and direct this heart-warming energy in those areas, body and heart. I'm going to take leave to just terminate or let this meditation subside in order to respond to some questions. So today is a question session. Thank you for your questions, comments. And we'll see how far we can go today. So first question, whenever I tell someone about my worries or problems, I'll be told to think positive. Does positive thinking accord with the teaching of the Buddha? Is positive thinking made of lies? Well, thinking is a tricky medium. Because thinking may not necessarily be connected to the heart. Right? You can think anything. You can read something off a screen. You'll think it. You read it. It will happen. Thinking will happen. So the important thing is to connect it to the heart. When the heart is feeling worried or has problems, it won't be a particularly happy state. So you can't say be positive or think positive. But you can, okay, the first positive thing is just be clear and be honest what's happening. So you could say that's positive, it's better than lying, isn't it? So feeling upset, worried, distressed. That's what's happening. All these memories and irritable voices coming up. So then we say, well, how does all that feel? Pretty unpleasant, I expect. And so then the really wise response is, well, let's listen to that with perhaps what does that need? All that worry and agitation and tension, and am I good enough, and am I doing the right thing, and people are complaining about me and I'm complaining about them. What does all that whining, muttering need? Probably needs a good warm listening to. Yeah. And how does it feel in the body? When you feel it in your body, a disturbing tension in your throat or your abdomen or your chest, or feel restless and fidgety, or shrunk and contracted, tense and tight. What does that need? So don't answer the question, because you'll just be thinking it. But have that question happening in a curious and encouraging way, like, please, well, tell me, do what you need. Well, show me what you need. Ask the body, ask the heart, show me what you need. Maybe it will just sigh, maybe the body will sit up, maybe it will move around a bit, or I need some space. I need some out breath. I need I need to stand on my own 2 feet. I need to actually say where I'm at and resist these difficult people's opinions and views, and be clear about what's important for me. So you're starting to get your truth. And the truth is not a lifetime experience, but the truth now is really the true response to feeling worried or having problems, a heart response. It doesn't mean, oh, now is the great plan, I will do this and do that. No, that's thinking. The first thing is just get the heart responding. That's definitely the Buddhist approach. And once you get that sense of, I need space, I need energy, I need to be listened to, I need to clear, firm, whatever, then you can start to think, what actually in the current situation, how would that happen? What would that mean? How would I follow that clue from my heart? Because it's sometimes it's not so easy to know the truth. You've got to negotiate. You can't come up with a sort of crystal clear plan, but you can start to think, oh, less of that and more of that. That feels better. And then, yes, that's slower rather than faster, or faster rather than slower, or with somebody else, or on my own. Yes, you keep asking what feels right. And that's the way I would recommend. And you get to know who you are. and how to work with it. Because you're not what you should be. You're not some idea. You're not a social model. You're a living organic mystery that needs to be referred to, asked, and listened to respectfully. And you're the one who needs to do that. Can't expect other people to do it. They may do, but the most important one is you. So another question. A person's been practicing with the Satipatthana Sutta. Satipatthana Sutta is called the Sutta on the establishment of mindfulness. They've been practicing with this as a guide, which they find very helpful in daily life mindfulness. However, off and on I get confused about the internally and externally parts with each of the fields of awareness. Now, if you're familiar with this sutta, well, actually, there's many, many Satipatthana suttas, but the two major ones that most people are familiar with is called the shorter one and the longer one. And the shorter one's in the middle length sayings. And this, both of them are pretty much the same, except the longer one, get it, it's longer. They add a whole new section on the end of it. Anyway, one of this, it's a kind of formulaic thing. And with each, you've got the four establishments, which is body, feeling, citta, and Dhamma. Now, citta, I've talked about, heart, awareness, that which is affected and responds. People often translate this as mind, but I can find the word heart seems a bit closer. Dhammas mean the phenomena that the heart is engaged with, either stuck with in a negative way or engaged with in a positive, awakening way. So this is the kind of the real nitty-gritty of awakening or confusion. Anyway, these four establishments. One of the phrases that use with each of these, because there's a certain repeated refrain, is one contemplates body in body internally, externally, and together, internally and externally. And it also says one contemplates feeling internally, externally, and both. And same thing with citta, and same thing with Dhamma. So the person's saying, well, what is this internally, externally thing? And yeah, because it doesn't explain it. And often the commentaries often suggest that this means internally means yourself and externally means other people. You know, I'm here, they're out there. I found this understanding rather unsatisfactory because I really don't know what other people's feelings are. And I really don't know what other people's hearts are experiencing. So I can't really be mindful of other people's feeling because I don't know what it is. I can guess, but sometimes the problem is, as you all know, you get it wrong. You don't read other people's feeling. So I don't find this particularly useful. So what I find more useful, and I'll try to take it slowly. So internally, externally, body. Now, and this is this kind of refrain. Now, if you look in these suttas, just to add a little bit more, they have all kinds of bits and pieces in there, but there's another big collection of Satipatthana suttas, which is in the collected sayings. And all these are different. And we notice that in the long version, they've added on a whole section called Dhamma. So these suttas have been kind of gathered together and sort of like pasted together. And the other, if you look in the Samyutta, you don't see anything on mindfulness of breathing as associated with this particular teaching. Also, you don't see anything on the parts of the body or the cemetery contemplations. So it seems the original stuff was much more just presence of body, presence of feeling, presence of citta, presence of Dhamma. You know, that's it. And these other bits have been kind of tacked on to kind of fill it out. But a little bit distracting, I think. because you contemplate the body externally, what's touching the body. That's what do I feel is outside my body touching me. In other words, what's happening in my skin. Sharp objects, warmth, cold, rain, walking on the ground, feeling, earth beneath my feet. That tells me, yeah, I'm the body and its inner world around me, right? Could be pleasant, could be unpleasant, probably moderate. That's, I would say, contemplating the body externally. Contemplating the body internally is, well, the kind of, do I feel tense or relaxed or agitated or jet-lagged, drowsy, vibrant? These are internal qualities. In other words, nothing really to do with tactile impressions. These could be just because I didn't sleep well last night, or because I've had some good news, I feel really up, and the body's feeling this. So then you can contemplate, because usefulness of that is, of course, this experience of how the body's affected very much is a very significant feature for how we generate our reality. So we say, if I'm feeling something around me, that's the world. That's the world. It's out there, and it's whatever the impression is, that tells me the world. And what the internal impression is, that tells me. And no, they don't. You can be walking on something that your foot feels is quite solid, but is actually only a 4-inch wide plank. So it's not as secure as it seems. For example. And internally, you might the most significant, because this is very much associated with states of heart. I feel irritable. Probably there's a strong effect internally in my body. If I feel pleased to see you, what happens? Generally, the energy rushes up to my face. I light up, my chest opens, a sense, oh, it's great. That happens there. Feeling frightened, everything closes down and contracts internally. This is the internal body, call it the subtle body, because you can't see it with your eyes. It's not physical, it's an energetic experience of energies moving. And it's not me. It feels like me. That's what we call it, but actually it's an energetic process. So you contemplate this. This is what's happening. And then for sure, this is the direct present actuality. So I'm not just buying into my thoughts, and I'm not distracted. I'm really in touch with what's actually happening, directly affecting this embodied state. And this is important to know, because when we track down that list from body, feeling, which is the internal based feeling, this is agreeable or disagreeable, or the externally based feeling, that's disagreeable or agreeable, feels agreeable to my body, I tend to move towards it, that's a pleasant touch, or that's rough, or that's too hot, or it's pleasantly warm. So it very much, and what's all this doing? The feeling quality is stirring the chitta, right? Stirring the chitta, right? So if it's agreeable, yes, more, this is comfortable, I'll stay with this. Unpleasant, no, get me away from this, don't want this. Very important to know that, because this is the basis of both your sense of where you're at and also what you're going to do, how your reactions occur. Yeah, right? Now, if you don't really know what you're feeling internally because you're thinking about something else, you're not really living a very accurate, authentic life. You're in a daydream. And sometimes you can just be trying to feel good. So I'll try to put a positive face on things, but actually I feel pretty nervous and depressed or agitated. But I shouldn't be this way. I should be more positive and confident. So I just try to pull myself out of it. And then you get this lot of internal conflict between what you think you should be and what you actually experience. I suggested in the previous question, a Dhamma practitioner wants to know how she or he is actually experiencing things. Then I can deal with it. If I'm feeling nervous and lacking confidence, at least if I know it, I can go to it and start to say, okay, this needs just a little bit more breathing out, steadying my mind. It's not self, it's just an energy. There's nothing wrong with me. It just needs to be managed. I'm a human being and I can work with it. So I know what's happening internally, and therefore the citta starts to respond to that experience rather than being fake. Or closing down. I can't bear this, so I just close down. I go numb because I'm not actually handling the reality of what's happening internally. Okay, so this is daily life practice. We look in the Satipatthana Sutta. You see these suttas. You see nothing there that says you just do this sitting still. In fact, it says things to the contrary. When walking, standing, leaning, inclining, scratching, eating food, defecating, one practices this. So, what's happening internally? What's happening externally, physically, bodily, in terms of feeling, and in terms of citta? Now, citta can be, in a sense, internally. That is, what's the quality of heart right now? Is it? And then the Satipatthana begins to list this. Is it affected by agitation or worry or aversion, or the opposite? Is it contracted? This means the heart actually can feel tight, as we know. That's a contracted heart. Or is it uncontracted, feeling open? We know that. Is it uplifted, expansive, free from hindrances or not? So you contemplate this. The internal aspect is actually talking about the very qualities of heart. And this can be through directing the heart towards internal processes, such as one's breathing, or to an external process, such as a recollection of the Buddha, or a great friend, or a source of something that arouses compassion. You direct it externally, and that quality, then citta picks that up. Very useful to know this. So internally, externally directing it towards not to just what I'm feeling in myself, but also this is another person, she's suffering, therefore I'm affected by that. I practice, that's practice. And then admirable people, I can bring them to mind and feel a sense of resonance and gladness. That's very important externally. And of course, citta also responds. So how does the citta respond internally? Does it feel shocked, unsettled, or stabilized? And then what does it do externally? What kind of volition, what kind of impulses do I put out? What kind of aims and directions does my citta extend? I contemplate that. Do I extend care and concern? Do I extend resistance? Do I extend ill will? Or do I extend non-ill will? So contemplating what the citta extends. That's the external response. Internal response, the citta feels comfortable, assured, or nervous or distracted. Therefore, you contemplate these qualities of citta, and the nature of this the particular theme in this whole teaching is the word I don't think even occurs. So it's very much, this is not self. This is not some kind of person. It's just a readout from moment to moment about what is actually happening in the present, in the reality, in the actuality, rather than in the world as should be, and what I hope I was, and what I fear I was, and what other people say I am, what I think other people say I should be, which is just, where's that going to take you? You're losing your presence. Yeah. And if that's occurring, which it probably does from time to time, you say, well, actually, wait a minute, what's happening internally? Feel really foggy and confused. Okay, right, now what's needed internally? What do you know for sure? I know I'm here. I know I'm breathing. I know I'm, there's this. Okay. Externally, I know I'm walking up and down, I'm walking along. There's that nice, steady, I'm on the planet. I'm not out somewhere in the cybersphere or in some theory. So it just helps us to get into the present reality. And that means we begin to kind of sort of drop off, like erase all these self-views that can occur. I am this, I am that. What are you talking about? I am this, I am that. What you're experiencing is doubt, probably, or feeling of inadequacy. So everybody does that, sure. Okay, that's not some personal statement. It's just a piece of chitta, weather, climate change moving through. So what's needed? No, this is where the Dhammas come in. And Dhammas mean those phenomena that circulate around and tether the chitta or liberate it. So the quality of doubt or ill will constricts the chitta, either because we feel ill will towards ourselves. So internally, I just feel a sense of sourness and pointlessness and uselessness, inadequacy in my life. Dhammas internally, or as these stupid, irritating people always let you down. That's externally, right? And then we make our world out of these phenomena. They are very important foundational experiences for what we call our world. And if you're handling them, you're handling the reality of your world and yourself, and you're dismantling, the bondage that locks them into some abiding reality that's always unsatisfactory. So I'm not that rather, inadequate person. I'm just experiencing inadequacy. And I'm responding to it by saying, well, what do you expect? What do you think? What do you want? And let's just this is enough. This is good. There's contentment. So then these skillful dhammas arise through directly relating to what you're experiencing. Mm-hmm. So this is a wonderful key, in my opinion. And anyway, that's the kind of outline. And hopefully, if you just take some notes on this and start to, practice it and flesh it out in terms of your own experience, and I hope it will certainly be a very, very interesting guide and something you can develop and make great use of. Okay, so person's been, this is a nice one, working on meeting, opening and releasing with a sympathetic attitude. I've noticed some joy arising areas of the body, namely the upper torso. So the person is cultivating inner peace, global peace and harmony, and meeting others with a kind and open heart. Yet, when sudden expected happenings arise, I'm very quick to enter into defensive mode. And I'm grateful that only I can hear what unkind words come out of my mouth. For example, they were out on an errand, came to a turning, and a woman driving in a car came towards, didn't stop at the stop sign, nearly hit me. As I drove off, she gave me a bad look. I have to say, I was also looking at her in a way that was questioning her actions. So I said some unkind things that caused me to doubt myself. So I feel some shame. Yeah, well, that's the way it goes. Praying for global peace and harmony, but there's this irritating person you meet in the street who's a complete idiot. Well, you know, that's the test, isn't it? I know it's lovely, you know, to pray for and hope and get some sense of joy. Of course, this is beautiful. And then we have to keep meeting these challenges where stuff is very, very annoying and irritating and saddening. And, you know, what do you do about it? And probably the likelihood is you will. The first thing you do is react. That's the first thing you do. Because that's the thing that is the easiest one to do. So he jumps out, particularly if these very spontaneous things. The first thing you do is get a spontaneous reaction, which is probably going to be defensive or, you know, shut up, or something like that. So, you know, so this is kind of, but don't take it to heart. That's the reflex. And then naturally what's happening after you think, oh dear, that wasn't very good. So you get a kind of response to your reflexes, which is also, yeah. And then you really don't want that reflex, but quick things will tend to bring up a reflex because that's what reflex means. Most immediate, quick, and defense is an extremely quick reflex because that's what it's about. You know, rapidly somebody's driving a car towards you, you're not going to go, well, I wonder if how she needs some peace and kindness. You're going to react. So now you can, you know, with as in we know these very powerful and immediate reflexes, and they're supposed to be there. You know, if a bear jumps on you, don't contemplate it. You react, and that's probably the best thing you can do. But you know, with practice and training, you get some the more and more you get into citta, and you recognize those reflexes, and there's a possibility to increasingly, you know, see well actually train it. There's an even better way, which is first thing you do is find where you are, and then, you know, first thing you do is go into your body. It takes like maybe half a second, maybe a second, and then it's steadying, and that puts an anchor on your speech. Maybe you still feel that energy jumping, you know, defensive energy jumps. That's okay. That's good. You just don't need the speech. So just you feel that jump of it, hardened, defensive. Okay. And then nothing to regret. So see if you can just catch the verbal mechanism. That would be my recommendation. Don't expect the reflex to go away. But it can be the case that over time, you may in fact find some reflexes will begin to die out because you haven't spoken about them. Like the more you go from the immediate bodily reflex, which is built in, heart reflex, and you go to the mental verbal reflex, if those keep lining up, it sustains itself. If you manage to cut off the verbal and the well, she's an idiot, more you can cut that off, it's like the whole process just loses some of its intensity. You can feel that jump and you just go, chill, relax. Okay, it's over. It's over. Don't need the anger. I don't need the blaming. It's over. You can get to the point when you, and that cutting off of the mental and verbal proliferation, that is possible. And this is the way that these unskillful responses die out. You get the immediate sense of what's going on, but you don't get the verbal blah, 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 blah. But it takes time and practice to get there. Time. Someone says they can't get to a center where there's could they attend to Buddhist traditions that practice disembodiment? They can't find something that's a bit more authentically embodied. Could they practice disembodiment? I wouldn't recommend it. I wouldn't recommend it. I don't know what centers or traditions you're referring to, but I really would not recommend it because there can be a lot of fantasy and spiritual fantasy and loss of, like you're kind of asked to believe in something, and get excited about something and believe in something, and you lose your presence. And your presence is kind of, no, that's just you. You should surrender to the guru. Everything's fine, and just be there because he's the cosmic master or something. Then people get damaged if you lose your presence. I'm not talking about a particular technique. There's all sorts of techniques you can do. Oh, okay. But the technique should always take you back to what do you feel directly now? And it's up to you to know that. And then you're being empowered. You're being constantly steadied and strengthened. You're not being told you should be and you should believe in something or you should have some special lights or sounds or visions, stuff like that. Not that I'm against lights and sounds and visions per se, if that's what happens for you. But it's got to be what happens for you. Now, embodiment really just means, it's not, I'm not talking about a deep, intense scanning of every quality in your body. I'm talking about feeling actually present, and embodied in that grounded way, because that's sanity. And anything that isn't like that is risky. And one is recommended, I would recommend to not follow that. So, person's asking, I mentioned the sutta called the Great 40, which is in the middle length sayings number 117. And it refers to how samadhi is based upon right view, right effort, and right mindfulness. It's an interesting sutta, as all of them are. And the person saying, is it possible to experience right view, right effort, right mindfulness? Well, they don't actually ask, but they sense is they're asking for affirmation. Can this occur? Surely this needs the 5 precepts in order to be steadfast. And I would think so, yeah. It's not just the precepts. Essentially, it's the quality of conscience and concern, hiriyottapa, integrity towards others, integrity, self-respect and respect for others, a sense of conscience and concern about one's actions. That's right view. And the Buddha says, when your virtue is pure and your view is straight, then you establish sati. Seemingly that these are the foundation for sati, is your virtue is pure and your view is straight. then you establish sati. Now, sati, mindfulness, of course, you can, very common word now, we can have various mindfulness teachings and practices become mainstream. But I would like to just suggest there's such a thing as samma sati. Samma sati. Samma is translated as right. I would say perhaps fulfilled or full or complete mindfulness or authentic mindfulness. And so mindfulness is the ability to bear something in mind. Now, when there's right view, this means what the basis of it is aware of the ethical qualities, aware of the energies of the heart and mind and body, and tuning in to establishing primarily a sense of the value of right or skillful action, skillful intention, skillful inclination, even without a thought, a word or an action, just the quality of holding in mind the sense of the bright, the true, the beautiful, sustaining it. And then with that is there, then we bring sati into body. Then sati has got a foundation. You know, this isn't just an examination of this is a feeling. Actually, there's a sense of purpose in one's practice that's about purity and skillful karma. Because there are such things as wrong mindfulness. There's such a thing as wrong concentration. There's even such a thing as wrong release. I guess it's some kind of cathartic experience. So, you know, what is the samma bit? It means it's covering the wholeness of your life in the world. It's not some esoteric technique that takes you out of contact with your life in the world, which has to be based upon ethics, mutuality to others. I respect others, to others as to myself. That's the fundamental rightness. I hope some of these considerations will help with your other questions, because I'm running out of time. But I'd just like to very briefly, if you'll bear with me, as individuals, we have creative potential, gifts, skills, qualities, and so forth. Do we invite that uniqueness to manifest, our unique particularity to manifest, to flourish in our lives? Yeah, I think it has to. Just, you know, I mean, it's not like some big ego trip. Like, there's no one else like you, that's for sure. That's not big. You know, we're all nobody looks the same as you, nobody speaks the same as you, and presumably the citta's karmic potentials are different from person to person. If you look at, you know, great teachers, they're all quite distinct characters and different dispositions. I mean, they're all good, but they have different qualities of silence or restraint or humor or warmth or, you know, in a way, but then you're not trying to suggest that uniqueness is coming from some idea of trying to be fantastic or having a special purpose in life. The Dhamma manifests at a transpersonal level. The Dhamma is transpersonal, but it's experienced personally. And it manifests through a personal form. The Dhamma is transpersonal, boundless, just goodness, truth, clarity, so forth. But it's experienced personally or intimately in this being. And the expression that this being makes will come through this being's particular voice, mind states, energies, dispositions. And it's not up for us to judge, I'm so special, and some, or I've got a special mission in life. Just be authentic, and you'll find truly authentic. You'll find this is not just some kind of personality trip. It means just the many-faceted Dhamma is shining through these different forms. And that's what makes it so rich and interesting, and we can learn, because sometimes this particular person, she's great, but I can't really understand what she's talking about. But this one, I can, because we're different. And some things work for some people better than others. We have to work with this particularity, not just to try to be blank and neutral, or all the same. Okay, well, I'll stop there for today. I've used the time, and I don't know what time of day it is for you where you are, but if it's, I've got plenty of time, but I don't want to, use up more of your time than you have. So very nice to be in touch. As you can see, I'm back in my little cabin in England, in Chittaviveka, where I'll be for a few more months, and look forward to connecting with you in due course on these monthly sessions when you have the capacity to do so. So we'll finish with the final chanting homage. Vakato Bhagavatam Dhammo Dhammam Namasami Supatipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Sangham Namami. Okay, so may they proceed and skillfully and with blessings of the Dhamma. Stay in the stream. Take good care.